Today we're talking about what anybody that wants to do barbecue talks about. Everybody, anytime you ask somebody what is the one thing that you would really love to do, brisket always comes first. It's one of those meats that a lot of people consider it to be very difficult to cook. Although I don't think it is. It's just a matter of you just got to be patient with it. It's a little more work to get ready to put in the grill than most, but it's one of the most rewarding things to me that you can cook. Before I get started, though, I would like to give a nice little shout out to my friends at Simpson's Meats in Knoxville. You know, we talk a lot about local meat shops. This is an East Tennessee based company that also raises their beef right here in East Tennessee. So look them up on the web. I think it's simpsonsmeats.com, and give them a shout out. At least thank them for providing the meat for our cook today. So we're going to get started here pretty quick, but I want to kind of just briefly talk a little bit about the brisket itself. Brisket kind of is described in two parts. You've got your flat, which is down here, and you can actually buy flats in the store. So if you're looking to be able to do a cook that's quicker, you're wanting to go a little less expensive, and you're just not needing this big piece of meat. Think about starting with a flat. Then up here you've got your point. This is your leaner part of the brisket, and of course your point is your fattier part. Some people will take and they'll split that and they'll do burnt ends from it. We're not going to do that today. We're really just talking about simple, brisket. So we're going to get started. We're going to start trimming this a little bit, really get it cleaned up before we put the rub on it. And then we'll get ready to throw it in the grill. Normally, I would, we talk about when we cook meats like this, we go low and slow. In the interest of time and, making sure that that Marty doesn't have to stay here for 24 hours, we're going to go hot and fast today. So where this is about a 15-pound brisket. This would normally take somewhere around 16 to 18 hours. We're going to do it in less than 6, because we're going to go instead of going at about 225, we're going to cook it at 300 and speed it up a little bit. It'll still be great, although, like I said, my preference in normal cases is to go slow. But I know a lot of people who will do it this way. It's especially important to know that you can do it this way if you're in a hurry. If you got dinner tonight, you got people coming over, you don't necessarily have to stay up the whole night before to get ready. So let's go ahead and get started trimming, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm going to go ahead and start by flipping it over. This is the fat side. I'm not going to take a huge amount of this off. I am going to even it up a little bit and just kind of straighten it. Part of the reason is because I'm going to, and I know there's a great big debate about whether you cook it fat side up, fat side down. I'm not getting into that today, but because I always cook mine fat side down. It's just the way I've always done it, and I don't get into those debates and things like that. But like I say, all we're going to do is just kind of even this up a little bit, and we're going to continue using this for insulation against the heat that's going to be coming up under it. So I take a boning knife. This is a Schoen boning knife. There's some out there. A lot of people like one that's a little more flexible. I like this one. It does a really good job of just kind of helping trim this stuff up. And just start taking things off. Now, I don't do this, but I know a lot of people that they'll take and they'll save the trimmings off their brisket, and they'll actually freeze them for a while, as they cook them, and then they'll take and they'll grind every bit of it up and into ground beef. And I tell you what, if you've never had a brisket hamburger, they're amazing. So that's something you can think about over time if you want to. And if you say, well, mostly all you're cutting off there is fat. That's true. But if you wind up and go buy you a brisket flat and combine with that then you'll definitely be okay, and you'll get what what you're looking for. So something to think about. Just in, do not have to waste what you're trimming. I'm gonna toss it, but we'll take probably before we're done, we'll probably take a couple pounds of trimmings off of this. And I have to say, we're cooking in the morning out here today, just because this does take a little longer. And it's sweatshirt weather. It's 52 degrees and the wind is blowing. And now we're just going to turn this over and we're going to really clean this top side up really good. Whenever you're trimming here, this is a good time to really pay attention to the direction of the grain. And I mean on all of it, because as you'll see, down here on our flat, we've got the grains running this way. As we get more up into the point, they'll start turning. One of the real keys to a brisket is when you get ready to cut it, if you cut this like this, your meat's going to be really tough. Or you cut a brisket, you want to cut it across the grain. So, down here where it's running like this, we're going to really make sure we cut it at a good angle to where we get some really good slices, and it really is going to be really tender. So.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken.
And I'm Harold.
Welcome to this incredible episode with an incredible brisket. This is beef brisket, and buddy, that's a Mac Daddy one you got right there. It's going to be a great time today. You're going to see exactly how to do this, all the injections, how to cook this on the Traeger Timberline.
Yep.
It's going to be a great day today, but I do want to say something special. You notice I'm in this suit. I'm actually on the way to a funeral right now of a very, very dear friend. His name's Roger Smith. Roger served very faithfully at our church, an incredible veteran, incredible Christian, and he passed away. I'm on the way to that funeral. So this episode is lovingly dedicated to the memory of Roger Smith. And Roger Smith would love this because, buddy, American brisket like this, man, cooking it on the Timberline, buddy, this is about as good as barbecue gets.
This is the ultimate in barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked a few minutes ago. This is what everybody wants. Whenever you ask somebody what would be the thing you would really love to cook, this is it.
Absolutely.
It is the thing that scares a lot of people because they look at this big old piece of meat, and this big old piece of meat is not cheap. You can pay, you get a good Wagyu brisket, you can pay $200 for it. And so, you start getting a little nervous here. You start talking about that big of a slice of meat. But like I talked about earlier, you don't have to start this big. Start with a flat. Mm-hmm. It's a quicker cook. It's not as much. Usually, they've already done the cleanup on a flat, so you're not having to do as much trimming and everything. So there's ways of going there. But yes, this is the king of meats. In my opinion, and again, I want to thank Simpson's Meats out of Knoxville for donating this to us today.
Thank you, Simpsons.
And I encourage everybody to please look them up and thank them. And look at what they got. I mean, we're going to be cooking some steaks, a tomahawk ribeye steak, and that thing's that thick, so...
I feel bad that you're not going to be there to eat it, but I got your back. I will help you out. I will eat it for you. Okay? That's my job here.
That's right.
All right. Having said that, let's jump right in, and I'm going to let the pro do his work. Mr. Harold, take us away.
All right. Thank you. We've got our brisket all trimmed and cleaned, and we're pretty much ready for the next step. Some folks would probably go ahead and just put the rub on this and put it in the in the smoker. However, I and most people that I personally know love to inject their brisket. I personally use and there's all kinds of different injections. Some people will inject beef broth. Some people will make their own injection. I personally use the Meat Church Holy Cow brisket injection. I'm actually using the Meat Church recipe for this brisket today in using this injection and 2 of the Meat Church rubs on the brisket itself. Again, start thinking about your direction that this is running, because this is the way you're going to want to inject it. You're going to want to inject it with that grain, because otherwise you're just going to get frustrated and not really get anywhere. I want to show you, I mean, one of the things you look for in a real good quality brisket is just the way it's the grain. I mean, look at that. I mean, that is absolutely a beautiful piece of meat. Got great markings in it. I think you're really going to love what you're going to see out of this Simpson's Meats brisket. So we're going to go ahead. I use this is the injector I use. There's lots of different ones out there. Some with multiple injection points. This is one of, I think, about 3 types that I carry at the store. And again, I'm just taking the Meat Church injection. I've mixed it with water, and then we're just going to start pulling it up and working it into the brisket. And then I'm just going to start one end and just kind of start working up through the grain and adding this to the inside. And you'll see your brisket start swelling as you go. And as you saw there, it will shoot out on you. And if we hit Marty over there, we're going to say we scored today. And that one just about could. I try to go pretty much through the whole brisket as much as possible. All you're doing is just adding flavor and moisture to the brisket. Anything you do to add a little additional moisture, you're going to really enjoy later, because it's just going to make it a much more pleasant piece of meat. A lot of people will, I know, we've done pork butts. A lot of people will inject pork butts. I typically don't. I have. But it's just another way of adding a little additional flavor to your cook. If you can get close, Marty, on this needle, you see we've got a point here. Our injection's coming out through this side port. It's not coming out the point. So what we're doing, we're opening it up with a point and actually then adding the injection into the meat. On the injection now, this recipe actually calls for 1 cup of liquid to one third cup of injection. I doubled the recipe, 2 cups of water to 2/3 cups of the injection. We've got everything ready here. Now we're going to put our rubs on the brisket, and then we're going to get ready to go. We've talked in several classes about binders. I'm actually going to use olive oil on this one today because it, first of all, we've added where our injection points have come out. We've got liquid there that's going to kind of serve as a binder too. But we'll just take and rub each side really good with olive oil, and then I'm going to start with the Meat Church Holy Cow barbecue rub, and I'm going to do a very liberal sprinkling over this entire surface, starting with the back. And I know that we're pretty much dealing with just the fat side, but I still like getting it on there because it just adds a little more to the bark, as we've talked in other classes about building that bark. And a lot of people, you'll find you've got a lot of folks who like the fatty side, so you want to add that flavor to it too. Next, we're going to take and we're going to use the Meat Church Holy Gospel on top of that. Gives a little bit additional flavor to our brisket. And then now we're going to turn it over, and then we're going to do the same thing on the top side. Okay, at this point we're ready to go into the smoker. Now I just want to talk just a real quick moment about how we're smoking it. Of course, we're smoking it on the Traeger Timberline today, which is always indirect. If we were doing it in the egg, then we would want to set up the convector and also, the main thing is we really want to limit the heat going to this, because we want this to go as slow as possible. Again, like I said, I'm cooking at 300 degrees today because we're trying to speed this process up. Normally, whenever I'm cooking one here at home, I'd go about 200, 225 because I really want that long, slow cook. You won't really notice that much difference, but there's just something I think satisfying about the long, slow cook, because that traditionally we always hear low and slow. So let's put this in here, let's put a probe in it, and then what we'll do, we'll come back in a little while whenever it hits 165 degrees, and we're going to wrap it, and then we're going to raise it up to till it hits 205 before we finally remove it. So, and today I am using in the Traeger Timberline, I'm using the new Traeger brisket blend pellets. It's a blend of oak, pecan, and other hardwoods that are really perfect. I use oak a lot with my briskets anyway, so this kind of works really well with that. So I'm gonna put this in here, and I'm gonna stick an internal probe into it. And I'm going to put this into the fattest part, because I want to monitor the temperature at that end of it. And then I'm going to close this thing up and let it do the rest for us. Let's talk wrapping. There are many methods to wrapping, all of which I have done at one time or another. The two most popular ways of wrapping is, first of all, aluminum foil. That's probably the one that most people use. Something that's gained momentum over the past few years, really, and what I really love about it is because it keeps from breaking down the bark. It also keeps you from having where with foil, here you wrap it with foil, you'll get a lot of that rendered fat that will just be inside that foil, and the brisket will be sitting there. With the butcher paper, you don't get that because it will hold the heat inside, but it will let the fat pretty much work its way through the paper and out. So you're keeping the brisket a little more intact, and you're not really losing your bark. Now what we're going to do is neither of these, but kind of accomplish the same purpose. And this is something that my friend Myron Mixon actually taught me, and we're going to take that's another reason I did this on the Traeger this morning, because I can't use this size pan in my large egg. But we're going to take a large hotel pan, and we're going to set a warming rack down inside of there. And what that's going to allow us to do is, we're going to keep the brisket from sitting in that fat as it breaks down. We're also, because we're doing that, if we wanted to put this in a grease separator and actually get the au jus out of there, we could do that and use it over and serve with the brisket. So it will accomplish the same thing that you do with the butcher paper, but it's also going to allow you to maintain the what's going to come out of that over the next little while as we reach for our temperature of 205. So let's go ahead and pull the brisket off, and let's get ready to wrap it up. One thing I want to talk about just a minute, because handling the meat and something that will make life so much easier. I mean, you can use tongs, you can use a lot of other things. To be frank with you, it's hard to lift a 15-pound brisket with anything other than your hands. So what I've learned a long time ago is I get these cheap cotton gloves. I think they're like $2 at the store, maybe $2.99, and then I put my nitro gloves over that. Now with this combination, I can pick that up. I can move it over here. I can do what I need to do. On a pork butt, I can break the pork butt down, and I can pretty much handle any meat I want to handle, as long as I don't hold it for a long time. If I try to hold it for a long time, it's still going to get the heat through there. So let's pull our brisket, let's wrap it up, and then we'll get ready to roll again. Put the probe back in it, and I'm going to pull off a good piece of foil, and we're going to cover it up, and we're going to let that thing go until we reach our temperature that we pull it. All right, and now our magic number we're looking for next is 205. All right, we're at 204 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and pull our brisket off, and then we're going to put it aside here and let it rest for a little bit before we get ready to slice it. Reach in here and just pull the probe out. I'll try to maintain most of my heat inside the pan. And then I'm going to just move it over here, and I use moving blankets. You can use regular blankets, whatever. Some people will put them in a cooler. Just if you put it in a cooler, let me just advise you to prop the lid, because especially like a Yeti cooler, you're not wanting it to keep cooking, and you will keep cooking it if you close a cooler completely up. So if you set it in a cooler, prop the lid open for just a little, barely, and typically we're going to let this rest about an hour, and then we're going to come back and we're going to slice it. All right, we have let our brisket rest, and I'm going to get ready to take it out of the pan, and then we'll put it on a cutting board, and then we'll slice it and show you what how a brisket looks. Again, we let the thing rest, and we'll just kind of push it to the side here and get this blanket out of my way. And there, my friends, is a whole packer brisket that has been cooking for approximately 8 hours. We did the smoke until we hit 165 degrees, and then we wrapped it in the pan and put it back into it. Hit 204. Now I know a lot of you've seen this before. Good brisket, it still has some jiggle to it. I talked about part of the reason for using this pan. You can see the juice down in there. Now, if you wanted to pour that into a grease separator, then you could actually use that as an au jus. So we're going to lay this off here, and we're going to take our brisket knife, and we're going to slice into it. Remember, I talked about the grain and cutting against the grain. If you remember, our grain run like this, so I'm going to cut pretty much diagonal across it, and we'll start here because I want to get let you see what the middle of this thing looks like. And there is a gorgeous brisket. And now we're going to cut us a few slices out of this thing. One thing you'll see in a lot of people whenever they, online, just want to point out, see our smoke ring around this thing. We've got our bark on the outside of it, and then we got a perfect bend of brisket there. And now for the ultimate test, we're going to taste it. And that, my friends, is a perfect brisket. I'm Harold. Ken is not here, but this is brisket for this week.